Have you ever been in a situation where you knew exactly what you wanted to say in English, but the moment you opened your mouth, your mind went completely blank? You knew the words, you had studied the grammar, you had watched hundreds of English videos, but somehow, you still couldn't speak. If that has ever happened to you, I want you to know something important. You are not a bad English learner. And today, I'm going to prove it. Because the biggest reason people don't become fluent isn't a lack of intelligence. It isn't a bad memory. And it definitely isn't because English is too difficult. The real reason is much simpler. Most people spend years learning about English, but they spend very little time actually using English. Think about it for a moment. Imagine someone who watches cooking videos every single day. They know every recipe. They know every ingredient. They can even explain how to bake a cake, but they have never stepped into a kitchen. Would you expect that person to become a great chef? Of course not. Because knowledge and skill are not the same thing. And speaking English works exactly the same way. Knowing English is one skill. Speaking English is another. That's why so many learners feel frustrated. They keep learning more, but they don't feel like they're improving. Not because they're lazy, not because they're slow learners, but because they've been practicing the wrong skill. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you spoke English out loud? Even for just 1 minute. Not inside your head. Not while reading subtitles. Not by repeating after a video. I mean speaking your own thoughts. Using your own words. If you're like most learners, the answer is probably not very often. And that's completely normal. Because nobody teaches us how to practice speaking. Schools usually teach grammar. Books teach vocabulary. Apps teach exercises. Videos explain rules. But very few people teach you how to train your brain to think and respond in English. And that's exactly what this video is about. By the end of this lesson, you'll have a simple system that helps you practice speaking every single day. No expensive course. No native speaking partner. No perfect grammar. Just practical methods that fit into your daily life. But before we get there, I want to share a short story with you. There were two English learners. Let's call them David and Emma. David studied English for almost 3 years. Every day, he learned new vocabulary. He completed grammar exercises. He watched English videos before going to bed. If you gave him a test, he usually scored very well. Emma studied for less than a year. She didn't know as many grammar rules. She didn't memorize long vocabulary lists. But every day, she spent 10 minutes speaking English. Sometimes she talked to herself. Sometimes she described what she was doing. Sometimes she recorded her voice on her phone. Now imagine both of them walking into a job interview where the interviewer asks a simple question. Can you tell me a little about yourself? David froze. He knew the answer in his head, but the words refused to come out. Emma smiled. She wasn't perfect. She made a few small mistakes, but she answered naturally. Who do you think left a better impression? Most people would choose Emma, not because her English was perfect, but because communication is about expressing ideas, not about speaking without mistakes. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts every English learner needs to make. Your goal is not to sound perfect. Your goal is to make yourself understood. And here's something fascinating. Have you ever noticed how children learn their first language? They don't start with grammar books. They don't memorize thousands of words. They don't wait until every sentence is perfect. They listen. They try. They make mistakes. People correct them. Then they try again. Little by little, without even realizing it, they become fluent. As adults, we often do the exact opposite. We spend months trying to avoid mistakes. And because we're afraid of making mistakes, we avoid speaking. The result, we protect ourselves from embarrassment, but we also protect ourselves from improvement. So today, I want you to make one small promise to yourself. For the next few minutes, don't listen to this video like a student. Listen like someone who's getting ready to use English in real life. Because throughout this video, I'm going to ask you to think, to imagine, and sometimes even to speak out loud. Yes, you heard that correctly. This won't be a lesson where you just sit back and listen. This will be a lesson where your brain starts practicing from the very first minute. And I have one small challenge for you before we continue. I want you to pause this video for just 30 seconds, without writing anything, without using Google. Try to introduce yourself in English. Just say your name, where you're from, and one thing you enjoy doing. Don't worry if you make mistakes. Just speak. Ready? Go ahead. Welcome back. How did it feel? Easy? Difficult? Did you stop to translate? Did you search for words? Or did your mind suddenly become quiet? Whatever happened, that reaction tells you something important about your current speaking habits. And here's the good news. Everything you experienced in those 30 seconds can be improved. Not in years, not in months, but through small daily habits that gradually retrain the way your brain uses English. In the next part, I'm going to show you why two people can study English for the same number of hours, yet one becomes fluent while the other still struggles to speak. The answer has nothing to do with talent. And once you understand it, you'll never practice English the same way again. Before we learn the first speaking habit, I want to ask you a simple question. Why do two people study English for the same number of years, but one speaks confidently, while the other still says, "I understand English, but I can't speak it"? Is one person naturally more talented? Not usually. The difference is something much more interesting. It's the way their brain has been trained. Let me show you what I mean. Story 1: A silent learner. Imagine a learner named Daniel. Daniel loved learning English. Every morning, he learned 10 new vocabulary words. Every evening, he watched English videos. On weekends, he completed grammar exercises. After 2 years, he knew thousands of English words. One day, a tourist asked him a simple question. "Excuse me, where is the nearest train station?" Daniel understood every single word, but instead of answering, his mind suddenly became quiet. 5 seconds passed, then 10. Finally, he smiled nervously and said, "Sorry, my English is not good." Have you ever experienced something like that? If your answer is yes, you're not alone. Because Daniel's problem wasn't vocabulary. His problem was speed. His brain had learned to recognize English, but it had never learned to produce English quickly. There's a big difference. Understanding is passive. Speaking is active, and active skills only improve through active practice. That's why watching English videos alone will never be enough. Videos can teach you, but they can't speak for you. Quick speaking challenge. Let's test something. Don't think too much. Answer this question out loud. What did you eat today? Not in your head. Say it aloud. Even if your answer is only one sentence, go ahead. Now ask yourself, did your answer come naturally, or did you translate from your first language? That tiny pause tells you exactly what your brain needs to practice. Story 2: The fear of making mistakes. Now let me introduce you to someone else. Her name is Lily. Lily wasn't afraid of learning English. She was afraid of making mistakes. Every time she wanted to speak, she checked her grammar first. Then she searched for better vocabulary. Then she changed the sentence again. By the time she finally felt ready, the conversation had already moved on. Does that sound familiar? Many learners believe confidence comes first, then speaking happens, but real life works in the opposite direction. Speaking creates confidence, not the other way around. Think about riding a bicycle. Nobody becomes confident before getting on the bike. Confidence appears after falling, after trying again, and after realizing, I can actually do this. Speaking English follows exactly the same pattern. Every conversation teaches your brain, I survived, and the next conversation becomes a little easier. Mini challenge. Say this sentence out loud. I don't need perfect English to have a real conversation. Now say it again. This time, believe it, because it's true. People don't remember every grammar mistake you make. They remember whether they understood your message. Communication is always more important than perfection. Story 3: Why children learn faster. Have you ever noticed something amazing about children? A small child can say the wrong sentence again and again and again. Nobody laughs. Nobody expects perfection. The child simply keeps talking. Every mistake becomes another step toward fluency. Now think about adults. Many adults stop speaking after just one mistake. They become embarrassed. They apologize. Then they become quieter and quieter. The strange thing is, adults actually learn faster than children in many ways. They understand rules more quickly. They remember vocabulary more easily. So why do children often become fluent more naturally? Because children practice without fear. Adults often fear practice. Imagine if a child decided, I won't speak until every sentence is perfect. That child might never learn to talk. Yet that's exactly what many English learners do. They wait, they prepare, they study, but they rarely speak. And without speaking, the brain never builds automatic speaking patterns. Try this right now. Look around the room you're sitting in. Choose 3 objects. Now describe them in English. For example, this is my desk. My phone is next to me. The window is open. Simple? Yes. Powerful? Absolutely. Because your brain is creating English from your own environment, not repeating someone else's sentences. That's real speaking practice. The biggest secret most learners never hear. Here's something that completely changes the way Many people think about learning English. Your brain doesn't become fluent when you learn more information. It becomes fluent when it repeats useful information in different situations. That's why one sentence you use 20 times is more valuable than 20 sentences you've never spoken. Think about your own language. Do you create every sentence from the beginning? No. Your brain remembers patterns. English works exactly the same way. The more useful patterns you speak, the faster your brain finds them in real conversations. That's why some learners seem to answer immediately. They're not translating. There. Now you know something that many English learners never realize. Fluency doesn't come from knowing more. It comes from using what you already know. So the question is, how do you actually practice speaking every day without feeling bored, overwhelmed, or lost? The answer isn't studying harder. It's building a simple daily system. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up every morning and ask yourself, should I brush my teeth today? You just do it. It's a habit. Speaking English should become the same kind of habit, not something you only practice when you feel motivated. Today, I'm going to show you a simple routine that takes only a few minutes but trains your brain to think, speak, and respond more naturally. Step 1. Start your day in English. Most people wake up, pick up their phone, scroll through social media, and their brain immediately starts thinking in their native language. Tomorrow morning, try something different. Before you touch your phone, take one deep breath and ask yourself one simple question in English. What's my plan for today? Then answer it. My first meeting is at 10. I need to finish my homework. I'm going to practice English this evening. Don't worry if your answer is short. The goal isn't to impress anyone. The goal is to tell your brain, from this moment, we're thinking in English. It might feel slow on the first day, a little easier on the third, more natural after a week. Small habits repeated daily create big changes. 30-second challenge. Pause for a moment. Imagine tomorrow morning. Say one sentence about what you're going to do. Out loud. Not perfectly. Just naturally. Step 2. Turn everyday moments into speaking practice. Here's a question. How many ordinary moments do you have every day? Making tea, walking to work, cooking dinner, driving, cleaning your room, standing in a queue. Most people see these moments as empty time. English learners should see them as speaking opportunities. Imagine you're making coffee. Instead of staying silent, say, I'm boiling the water. Now I'm adding coffee. It smells really good. I'm ready to start my day. These aren't complicated sentences, but they train something much more important than grammar. They train automatic thinking, and that's exactly what fluent speakers have. They don't search for every word. Their thoughts flow naturally because they've used similar patterns hundreds of times before. Story: The 5-minute habit. A university student wanted to improve her English. She didn't have a tutor. She didn't have a speaking partner. She didn't even have much free time. So she made one simple rule. Every evening while washing the dishes, she spoke only English. She described what she was doing. She talked about her day. She shared tomorrow's plans. 5 minutes. Every single day. At first, it felt awkward. Sometimes she repeated the same words. Sometimes she forgot simple vocabulary. But she kept going. A few months later, something surprising happened. She noticed she was answering questions in English much faster than before. Not because she had memorized more words, but because her brain had practiced building sentences every single day. Consistency had quietly changed her speaking ability. Your turn. Think about one daily activity you do without fail. Walking, cooking, getting ready for work, cleaning. Now ask yourself, could I describe this activity in English for just 2 minutes? If the answer is yes, you've already found your daily speaking classroom. Step 3. Build English around your life. One mistake many learners make is practicing topics they'll probably never use. For example, they can explain climate change, but they struggle to describe their own weekend. Real fluency starts with real life. Practice talking about things that belong to you, your family, your hobbies, your work, your favorite food, your dreams, your daily routine. Why? Because you'll use these topics again and again in real conversations. The more familiar the topic, the less your brain worries about ideas, and the more it focuses on speaking. Quick practice. Answer this question aloud. What's one thing you're looking forward to this week? Take your time. One sentence is enough. Now, can you add one more sentence? Then one more. Did you notice what happened? You weren't memorizing English. You were using English. That's a huge difference. Step 4. Train your brain to respond faster. Have you ever noticed how quickly fluent speakers answer simple questions? It isn't because they think faster than you. It's because they've answered similar questions many times before. Let's practice together. I'll ask a question. You answer immediately. Don't stop to translate. Ready? What's your favorite season? What did you do yesterday evening? Why are you learning English? How did that feel? Maybe you hesitated. Maybe you answered confidently. Either way, you've just trained one of the most important speaking skills, responding without overthinking. That's exactly what happens in real conversations. The power of small wins. Many learners believe success looks like speaking perfect English for 10 minutes, but real progress often looks much smaller. Today, you answered one question more quickly than yesterday. Tomorrow, you'll remember one word without translating. Next week, you'll tell a short story without stopping. These tiny victories may not seem exciting, but your brain notices them. Every small success sends a quiet message. I'm getting better. And when your brain believes improvement is happening, it becomes more willing to practice again. That's why celebrating small progress is so important. Don't compare yourself to fluent speakers. Compare yourself to the person you were last week. If you've become just a little more comfortable speaking English, you're moving in the right direction. Before we continue, so far, we've discovered something powerful. Fluency isn't built in one long study session. It's built in hundreds of short speaking moments. But there's still one obstacle that stops almost every learner, even after they start practicing. It's invisible. Most people don't even realize they're doing it. And until you overcome it, your progress will always feel slower than it should. In the final part, I'll show you what that obstacle is, how to remove it, and how to create a speaking habit that keeps improving. even on the days when you don't feel motivated. We've talked about speaking. We've talked about practice. We've talked about confidence. But now I'd like to ask you one final question. What kind of English learner do you want to be 6 months from today? The person who keeps saying, "I'll start speaking when my grammar is better," or the person who simply starts speaking today and lets practice improve their grammar over time? Because that's the biggest difference between learners who stay stuck and learners who become fluent. They stop waiting. They start speaking. The invisible enemy. There's one habit that quietly destroys more English dreams than almost anything else. It's not poor grammar. It's not a small vocabulary. It's inconsistency. Think about someone who goes to the gym for 3 hours, but only once a month. Will they become stronger? Probably not. Now think about someone who exercises for just 15 minutes every day, month after month. Who will see better results? The answer is obvious. Learning English works the same way. 5 or 10 minutes of speaking every day will always be more powerful than one long practice session once a week. Your brain doesn't need occasional effort. It needs regular reminders. Every time you speak English, you're telling your brain, this skill is important. Keep building it. And little by little, your brain listens. Imagine your future. Close your eyes for just a moment and imagine yourself 6 months from now. You're traveling. A stranger asks you a simple question in English. This time, you don't panic. You don't translate every word. You don't freeze. You smile. You answer naturally. Maybe your English isn't perfect. Maybe you still make small mistakes, but something has changed. You're communicating. You're connecting. You're finally using the language you've worked so hard to learn. That moment won't happen because of one video. It will happen because of the small choices you make every single day after this video ends. Your 7-day speaking challenge. So here's my challenge for you. For the next 7 days, spend just 5 minutes speaking English every day. Follow this simple plan. Day 1, introduce yourself. Day 2, talk about your daily routine. Day 3, describe your favorite place. Day 4, speak about your family or a close friend. Day 5, share one goal you want to achieve. Day 6, talk about something you learned this week. Day 7, tell the story of your week in English. Don't write a script. Don't aim for perfection. Just speak. Record yourself if you can. Listen to your progress. And remember, the goal isn't to sound like a native speaker. The goal is to become a more confident version of yourself. One final thought. Every fluent English speaker was once a beginner. Every confident speaker has made embarrassing mistakes. Every person you admire has experienced moments when they couldn't find the right words. The difference is, they didn't stop, and neither should you. One conversation, one sentence, one mistake, one improvement. That's how fluency is built, not overnight, but every single day. Call to action. Before you leave, I have one small request. In the comments below, write one sentence in English introducing yourself. It doesn't matter if it's simple. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. This is a judgment-free community, and every sentence you write is one more step toward becoming a confident English speaker. And if you enjoyed this lesson and found it helpful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next English lesson. Every week, we'll practice together with real-life conversations, speaking challenges, and simple techniques that help you speak English naturally and confidently. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and remember, you don't become fluent by waiting for the perfect moment. You become fluent by speaking one day, one conversation, and one sentence at a time. I'll see you in the next lesson. Until then, keep speaking English.